legal action or not in some places with Ken Starr, former independent counsel and Fox News contributor. Ken, thanks so much for being with me. I want to start right where we're leaving off here in Nevada. And I know that there are some legalities now in Clark County that the Trump campaign is looking at. Welcome to the program, by the way. Your top-line thoughts on what's legally happening in Nevada.
It sounds to me as if the process is unfolding. I very much liked it that the official kept referring to state law, and that's exactly right, because what is going to be at issue in other states is the failure to abide by state law or riding roughshod over the fundamental constitutional requirement that the legislature of the state is the boss. So it's comforting to hear his view that there's no voter fraud. We will obviously have to see. Those are charges that you shouldn't make lightly, but I want to make a comment about Philadelphia, unless you want to go there separately. But here's a key point. Philadelphia does indeed have, sad to say, a very, very sorry history of voter fraud. Simply look it up. Voter fraud convictions in Philadelphia over a century. We're not talking about rhetoric now. We're talking about facts. And the facts are that as recently as this year, there's been a conviction in Philadelphia for voter fraud. The former state Senate majority leader went to jail for voter fraud in Philadelphia. So anytime a voter fraud, whether it's Nevada or Philadelphia or wherever, is made, it should be taken very seriously and not dismissed. This may be viewed as the election, where the ultimate results are called into question because of the lack of integrity or the appearance of the lack of integrity in the process.
All right. I do want to toggle back, and I'll get to that in 1 second, because
Yes.
Pennsylvania is so critical, particularly to the President of the United States. Not a lot of maps will get him to the White House again without picking up Pennsylvania. We'll get there. Let's step back just to Nevada. So you saw Joe Gloria. Boy, he was detailed, wasn't he? In Nevada, and that was good. And what he was talking about is he doesn't have observers. So every state does this differently. They also don't have as many votes to count. I mean, at under 63,000, well, he's got 63,262 ballots to count. But when you get to a place like Pennsylvania, where you do have so many, the observers have been the issue for the Trump campaign. Can you walk us through what's happened today? Because they were calling it a victory, the campaign, the Trump campaign, that they were going to get those Republican observers inside that big hall where they're counting. And I'm curious to know what's going on now, because we're kind of in limbo. They've resumed counting, but we're waiting for the PA Supreme Court. What's happening, Ken?
Right. What has happened is there is an order from an appellate judge in Pennsylvania saying the observers go in. In other words, the Trump campaign has won this round. So it now obviously depends on what the other side, what the Democrats see fit to do. Shame on them if they say, as they may in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, we don't want observers in. Really? You don't want checks and balances. Why? You need to answer that question. Now, here's a problem with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. It is deeply partisan. We saw that in terms of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's response to Governor Wolf, who violated the American Constitution. Shame on him. It was fashioned right there in Philadelphia. But shame on him for riding roughshod over what the legislature had determined. And then the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, by deeply divided vote, went along with him. So I hope, and it's only a hope, that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Yeah.
Real quickly.
Sure.
You know, regardless of all that will go on, are we going to see all of the votes counted and then the legalities come out? Or are the concerns that some are expressing that the vote counting could stop before we know exactly what the totals were? Just real quickly, how does it work legally?
Yeah, it's more likely, and it's going to depend on each state. As you know, Harris, each state has the right to determine these things. So we just have to monitor. We have to listen to people like Joe, who we just heard from, to say, here's the law, and I'm following the law. And when they're not following the law, such as allowing observers in, that's when alarms should go off. All
right. And I should add, the Biden campaign has reportedly said that, you know, whether it's 20 feet or 6 feet of distancing, they're good with those observers going right in. They don't want to see the vote count stop. Ken Starr, thank you very much for being with me today as we break all this down.